Hey everyone, Brian Albert here with IGN, and I'm here with Miranda Sanchez.
Hi, that's me.
That is you, and I'm also here with the Master Chief.
The more important guy.
That guy's our guest of honor.
Way cooler than me.
He's coming up in a new video game called Halo 5 Guardians, and so we wanted to take a moment to look back on his history and talk about some things you might not have known about him. You see him in the games plenty, but there's a bunch of books and expanded universe stuff that you don't really get to see if you just play the games. And so we're going to kind of shine some light on that. Let's start with the fact that he has killed a bunch of UNSC soldiers. He's killed his own teammates.
Yeah,
he's a team killer.
You can do that in the game.
Sure, but it doesn't really matter.
Everyone hates you for it.
Well, that used to be the only way you could pick up weapons.
Yeah, I mean, so sorry, friends. But in the first novel, so Fall of Reach.
Fall of Reach, yeah.
Master Chief's a kid. He's not even the chief yet. He's still learning how to be a Spartan. And he walks into the gym one day just trying to, figure out his new strength, because this is after he has his, medical implants and he's now a superhuman.
Yes, the Spartans received augmentation. They have stronger bones, like bigger muscle density, and he's going in the gym to get swole.
Right. He's just, going to practice as always, and he's like, wow, these weights, what's wrong?
Yeah, all the weights feel too light, which is really cool. He thinks like the gravity room is out of calibration, but really it's just him because he's so freaking strong now.
He's too good.
Yeah.
And he kind of forgets to put some stuff back in its place, and it ends up hurting one of the other ODS2 who come in later to work out.
Yeah, and a reminder, these are the guys, they're like big orbital drop shock troopers. They're like super hardcore. You play as them in Halo ODST. Hey, the name makes sense.
Surprise.
But go ahead.
But yeah, so they get really mad at him. He's like, oh, sorry, that was my fault. And they pick a fight, and this is granted, the chief at this time is 12, 13, 14 maybe, 14?
He's in his teens.
He's a kid. He's not an adult by any means, though he does look a little bit older because of his augmentations. And they get in a fight, and Chief wins by a landslide, and they die.
Yeah, they fight him in this boxing arena on a UNSC ship, and he kills them because he gets an order from a superior officer to fight them and defend himself. Yeah. And that's how he works. Once he gets an order, he does it. But I get that, and you gotta follow orders, but he kills some of these great troops for the UNSC. It's just very strange. Yeah,
and when reading it though, you can tell it's not entirely intentional. He still at the time doesn't know his own strength, so he's just fighting and well, that guy's face just got punched in, sorry.
Let's move on to one of the big mysteries that they never really tell you about in Halo 1. So at the beginning of the game, you're fleeing from this planet Reach, which was like a human stronghold, and it got destroyed, and you're like, we're out of here. And you show up and you find the Halo ring, and you're like, that's cool. Let's go on the Halo.
Yeah, it's cool.
In the first book, again, on a mission, I believe the planet is called Sigma Octantis. Chief goes down with a bunch of his Spartans, the Spartan 2s. Yes. They're still plenty alive at this point. And they find this red stone with all these crystals on it, or these crystal cutout shapes. Yeah. And it's sort of being defended by these hunters. And it's broadcasting a big signal up into space where there's a fight going on.
Yes.
And then what happens? Captain Keyes intercepts it, correct?
Yes, Captain Keyes knocks out the ship that's taking in whatever data they're trying to collect, and the Spartans down on the ground are trying to retrieve this object because obviously it's some sort of important thing.
Right, because the Covenant usually just blow stuff up. They never set up a base and defend something.
Yeah, this was in a museum, and they're like, why would they even care about a human museum? And this was just some rock that they had, and it didn't really have any description or really importance.
Right. So at the end of the game, Cortana is going to jump the Pillar of Autumn away. This is where Halo 1 starts. And you have to jump away at a random vector away from Earth. Right. And these coordinates that were on this rock that Chief found, she's like, well, they technically fit this protocol. I'm going to jump to these coordinates. And they find Halo. Yeah. And they never explain that in the game. That's a huge deal. Yeah, otherwise, it just feels like total circumstance that they found the super important thing in the galaxy.
And it was really important before because they couldn't decipher what the coordinates were, or if they were coordinates. They just knew there was some kind of mysterious thing that was super important to the Covenant.
Right.
And it's very important because it's the ring.
And let's talk about one more thing.
Yeah.
The Chief was a jerk when he was a little kid. These Spartans, by the way, they were abducted children who clones were made of themselves to give to their parents unknowingly, but those clones were imperfect, so they died. So Chief was taken away as a kid, and he was a little jerk to all the other Spartans. There were, I believe, 75 at the beginning.
He was a jerk even before they picked him up for the Spartan program. When Halsey first, observes him, he's playing King of the Hill, essentially, with a bunch of kids.
King of the Hill.
And he's sitting on the top and just pushing all the other kids down. And,
Sure, so he's super roughhousing all these kids that he's much bigger than. And then once Spartan training begins, you know, they're working these kids hard, they're hungry, and he's just like stealing these other kids' crackers.
Yeah,
like all they give him is crackers and water. He just like runs around and snatches it from people.
Like there's these little girls, like they're just trying to finish their food, or like they're stopped to, you know, learn a lesson or whatever, because they're actually in class when they get their snacks. And this girl looks away for a moment, and it just says like, he just stole it. Like, it's like, really?
Also in their first big training mission where they have to do the obstacle course, it's clear that teamwork is the goal, but he's just like, nah, and he like pushes past people and like, he gets first, but his team comes in last, so he loses. So, he's just a huge jerk, but he loses some humility because he becomes their leader.
Yes, so John at first is just like very independent, I'm obviously the strongest, so why should I have to care about the rest of you? And you know, the beauty of it is that he does learn the importance of teamwork, of course, because then he becomes Master Chief.
There's a lot more things you probably didn't know about the Master Chief, and we've got them all on a nice roundup article on IGN, so go ahead and check that out. And for more on Halo as we approach Halo 5 Guardians, keep it right here on IGN.